The flashing red lights of the emergency alert system bathed the alien dormitory in an ominous glow as Victor Quinn stumbled through the door, his white shirt stained crimson across the chest. The four Zenovian exchange students froze in horror, their pale blue skin turning almost white at the sight of the human's blood-soaked appearance. "Help," Victor gasped, leaning against the doorframe. "There's been an accident in the lab." Zerixel, the tallest of the aliens, backed away instinctively, his six-fingered hands trembling. "You're bleeding. We need to call the emergency services immediately." No, Victor said, shaking his head. "It's not my blood. It's synthetic hemoglobin from the chemistry experiment. I came to get you guys because Professor Hendricks said we should all evacuate the science building." The aliens visibly relaxed, their breathing apparatus making soft, whirring sounds as they calmed down. "Thank the 7 moons," Lentrix said, her voice modulator expressing relief. "We thought you were injured. Blood is dangerous for humans, is it not?" Victor looked confused. "Dangerous, I mean losing too much is, but blood itself is just blood." The four Zenovians exchanged puzzled glances. They had been studying at Earth's International Space Academy for only 3 months, and human physiology was still mysterious to them. "But humans avoid blood at all costs," said Grelka, the youngest of the group. "We've observed how you all react when someone is injured." The panic, the containment procedures, the sterilization. Victor laughed, wiping his hands on a tissue. "That's just basic first aid and infection control. We don't want to spread diseases or let someone bleed out." Prixner, the fourth alien who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. "Our cultural research indicated humans have a strong aversion to blood. Your entertainment media frequently depicts humans fainting at the sight of it." "Some do," Victor acknowledged, "but that's more of a psychological thing, not universal. Listen, we need to go." The whole building's being evacuated. As they hurried outside, joining the stream of human and alien students flowing out of the science complex, Victor couldn't help but wonder what other misconceptions his alien roommates had about humans. The following day, posters appeared all over campus. The bright red imagery caught Victor's attention as he walked to his xenobiology class. "Emergency blood drive reserves critically low due to recent shuttle accident. All compatible donors needed. Human volunteers especially welcome." Victor paused, reading the details. 22 people had been injured when a shuttle transporting students from the lunar campus had experienced landing gear failure. The medical center was running dangerously low on blood supplies. "Are you going to donate?" asked a voice behind him. Victor turned to see Zerixel studying the poster with his large, almond-shaped eyes. "Yeah, I try to donate regularly anyway. I'm O-negative universal donor," Victor explained. "My blood can help anyone with human DNA." Zerixel's expression was difficult to read with his alien features, but Victor had learned to notice the subtle changes in the coloration around his eyes that indicated confusion. "You willingly give your blood?" Zerixel asked, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid speech patterns. "Sure." "It saves lives," Victor said simply. "The blood drive is happening this afternoon. You can come watch if you're curious." Zerixel's skin rippled slightly, the Zenovian equivalent of a shudder. "I will observe for scientific purposes." Word spread quickly among the alien student population. By the time Victor arrived at the medical center that afternoon, a small crowd of non-human observers had gathered near the donation area, keeping a respectful distance, but watching with undisguised fascination. Victor spotted his roommates among them and waved as he signed in at the reception desk. The nurse handed him a form to fill out. "Standard questions," she said cheerfully. "Have you been off-planet in the last 6 months? Any new medications? Any recent illnesses?" Victor completed the form and was directed to a padded chair. A phlebotomist approached with a tray of equipment. "Oh, we've got an audience today," the phlebotomist remarked, noticing the aliens watching intently. "Exchange students, my roommates," Victor explained. "Apparently they think humans have some kind of blood phobia." The phlebotomist laughed as she tied the tourniquet around Victor's arm. "Well, you're helping dispel that myth today. Nice veins, by the way." From across the room, Zerixel and the others watched with increasing alarm as the needle pierced Victor's skin. Dark red blood began flowing through the clear tube into the collection bag. "He's not even distressed," Grelka whispered to Lentrix. "Look at his vital signs." She gestured to the monitor displaying Victor's heart rate and blood pressure, which remained steady. "Perhaps it's a show of courage," Prixner suggested. "A warrior tradition." "No," Lentrix replied. "Look around. There are at least 15 humans doing the same thing, and they're talking, laughing. As if this isn't a serious medical procedure." Indeed, the donation room had a casual atmosphere. Some donors were reading on their tablets, others chatting with the staff or fellow donors. A few were even eating snacks provided by the center. After 15 minutes, the phlebotomist removed the needle from Victor's arm and placed a small bandage over the puncture site. "All done. 1 pint donated," she said brightly. "Grab some juice and cookies before you go." Victor stood up, flexed his arm experimentally, and walked over to the refreshment table. He selected an orange juice and a chocolate chip cookie before approaching his alien roommates. "So that's blood donation," he said casually, biting into the cookie. "Any questions?" The aliens stared at him in silence for several seconds before Zerixel finally spoke. "You just gave away a significant portion of your bodily fluid, voluntarily. And now you're consuming simple carbohydrates as if nothing happened," Victor shrugged. "The body replaces the liquid part of blood in about 24 hours. The red blood cells take a few weeks to regenerate completely. It's really not a big deal." But Grelka's voice modulator struggled to convey her confusion. "In our biology classes, we learned that human blood carries oxygen, nutrients, and immune cells. It is essential for your survival." "It is," Victor agreed, "but we can spare some. The average adult human has about 10 pints of blood. Donating one is safe." The aliens exchanged looks that Victor had come to recognize as their silent communication method. "Would you donate again?" Lentrix asked cautiously. "Sure, I can donate again in 56 days. Some people donate regularly for years." This revelation seemed to stun them more than the donation itself. "We need to reconsider our understanding of human physiology," Prixner said. "This contradicts our previous observations." Victor finished his juice. "What observations led you to think we avoided blood anyway?" "Your emergency protocols," Zerixel explained. "The protective equipment used by medical personnel, the warnings about blood-borne pathogens in the laboratory." "That's about disease prevention, not fear of blood itself," Victor explained. "Blood can carry infections from one person to another, so we're careful about exposure. But the blood itself isn't harmful." The aliens still looked skeptical, and Victor realized their misconception ran deeper than he thought. 2 days later, Victor was studying in the dormitory common room when Zerixel approached him with an official-looking document. "We have been granted special permission to observe the processing of donated blood at the medical center," Zerixel announced. "Would you accompany us?" The technicians suggested having a human present might be beneficial. Victor checked his schedule. "I've got time this afternoon, but why the sudden interest in blood processing? We are conducting research for our comparative xenobiology project," Lentrix explained, joining them. "Professor Tikarik approved our study of human blood donation practices compared to fluid exchange rituals in other species." "Fluid exchange rituals," Victor repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Many species have cultural practices involving the sharing or donation of bodily fluids," Grelka said, entering the room. "The Andorians, for example, exchange nerve cell fluid during their bonding ceremonies. The Prelaxians donate digestive enzymes to their young. But none donate blood in the quantities or frequency that humans do," Prixner added, completing the group. "It's unprecedented in our studies." Victor couldn't help feeling like a scientific specimen, but his curiosity was piqued. "All right, I'll go. It might be interesting to learn how other species handle this kind of thing." At the medical center's blood processing facility, a technician named Dr. Reeves met them at the entrance. She seemed accustomed to giving tours to alien visitors. "Welcome to Central Blood Processing," she greeted them. "We handle donations from the entire Academy network, including the lunar and Mars campuses. Our facility processes approximately 200 units of blood per day. She led them through a series of rooms with large windows, allowing them to observe without entering the sterile environments. First, each donation is tested for infectious diseases and typed, Dr. Reeves explained, gesturing to a laboratory where technicians were working with small samples. Then we separate the whole blood into components: red cells, plasma, and platelets. Each component can help different patients. Zirixel's translator struggled to keep up with his rapid questions. So one donation can help multiple recipients. Exactly, Dr. Reeves nodded. One person's donation might provide red cells for an anemia patient, plasma for someone with liver failure, and platelets for a cancer patient. Extraordinarily efficient, Prixner commented. Dr. Reeves continued the tour, showing them the storage facilities where blood products were kept at precise temperatures. Red cells can be stored for 42 days, plasma for up to a year when frozen, and platelets for just 5 days. That's why continuous donations are so important. We can't stockpile everything long-term. As they observed the facility, Victor noticed the aliens becoming increasingly engaged, asking detailed questions about processing methods, storage requirements, and distribution systems. What happens during a major emergency? Lentrix asked. If there are many injured humans needing blood simultaneously, we have emergency protocols, Dr. Reeves explained. We can issue calls for specific blood types, extend operating hours for donation centers, and expedite processing. In extreme cases, we can request emergency shipments from other regions or planets. And humans respond to these calls. Grelka sounded incredulous. They come voluntarily to give more blood. Yes, it's actually one of the most reliable emergency responses we have, Dr. Reeves said with pride. After major disasters, donation centers often have to turn people away because so many volunteers show up. Victor had never thought much about it, but seeing the aliens' reaction made him realize how unusual this might seem to other species. May I ask a personal question? Zirixel turned to Victor. What motivates you to donate? Victor considered this. Honestly, it's just something I can do to help. It doesn't cost me anything except a little time, and it might save someone's life. It's a pretty straightforward equation. The aliens fell silent, processing this information. As they were concluding the tour, an alarm suddenly blared through the facility. Red lights flashed, and staff members began moving with urgent purpose. What's happening? Victor asked Dr. Reeves, who was checking her communication device. Emergency transport coming in, she explained tersely. Mining accident at the asteroid belt facility. Multiple human casualties with severe trauma. We're activating our mass casualty protocol. Before their eyes, the processing center transformed. Additional staff appeared, donning protective gear. Storage units were opened and blood products were moved to preparation areas. You should return to your dormitory, Dr. Reeves told them. We'll be extremely busy for the next several hours. As they left the facility, they passed the donation center, which was already filling with people responding to emergency alerts on their devices. They're coming to donate now, Prixner asked, watching humans of all ages filing into the center. During an emergency. Especially during an emergency, Victor confirmed. That's when blood is needed most. The aliens were silent as they walked back toward their dormitory. Victor could tell they were processing what they'd seen, recalibrating their understanding of human behavior. 3 days later, Victor received an urgent message from the medical center. He was reading it when his roommates entered their shared living space. Everything okay? Lentrix asked, noting his focused expression. The medical center is still short on O-negative blood after the mining accident, Victor explained. They're asking if I can donate again through a special procedure called apheresis. It lets them take just the components they need and return the rest to my bloodstream, so I can donate sooner than the usual waiting period. The aliens stared at him. You're going to give more blood, so soon? Grelka's voice modulator couldn't quite capture her apparent shock. Yes, I'm heading there now, Victor said, standing up. The procedure takes about 2 hours, so I'll miss dinner. Don't wait up. We will accompany you, Zirixel announced suddenly. You don't have to, Victor began. We insist, Prixner interrupted. For scientific observation. Victor sensed there was more to their interest than academic curiosity, but he shrugged. Suit yourselves. At the medical center, Victor was quickly processed and taken to a special room with reclining chairs equipped with complex medical devices. A doctor explained the apheresis procedure to him, while the aliens listened intently from nearby. We'll insert a needle and draw your blood into this machine, the doctor explained, indicating a large device with multiple pumps and filters. It separates the components we need in this case, plasma and platelets, and returns the rest to your body through a second needle in your other arm. Will it hurt him? Lentrix asked, her concern evident despite the limitations of the translator. The doctor looked surprised at the alien's question, but answered professionally. There's some discomfort from the needles, but the procedure itself is painless. Most donors read or watch entertainment during the process. Victor settled into the chair and the medical team inserted the needles into both his arms. The machine hummed to life, drawing his blood in a steady flow. This is so weird, Victor commented, watching his blood move through the transparent tubes. I can feel the blood going back in. It's cold. We can adjust the temperature if it's uncomfortable, a nurse offered. No, it's fine. Just strange. For the next 2 hours, the aliens observed as Victor's blood was processed. Unlike the standard donation they'd witnessed earlier, this procedure was more intensive, with medical staff regularly checking the equipment and Victor's vital signs. You doing okay? A nurse asked Victor after the first hour. Yeah, just a little tired, he admitted, and hungry. That's normal. We'll give you some high-protein snacks when we're done. As the procedure continued, Victor became noticeably paler. The aliens exchanged concerned glances. His color is changing, Grelka whispered to the others. Is that normal? I believe he is experiencing reduced circulatory volume, Prixner replied quietly. His body is compensating, but it's affecting his peripheral perfusion. Finally, the machine completed its cycle. The nurse removed the needles from Victor's arms and placed pressure bandages over the sites. All finished, she said cheerfully. We got 2 units of platelets and 1 of plasma. That will help at least 3 patients. Thank you for coming in on short notice. Victor sat up slowly, looking distinctly wobbly. No problem, glad to help. You need to remain seated for at least 15 minutes, the nurse instructed firmly. I'll bring you some juice and protein bars. No strenuous activity for the rest of the day and make sure to drink plenty of fluids. After she left, Zerixel moved closer to Victor. You appear unwell. Victor gave a weak smile. Just a little light-headed. It happens sometimes with apheresis. My body needs to adjust to the volume changes, even though they return most of the blood. Yet you do this voluntarily, Lentrix stated, not quite a question. People need help, Victor said simply. I can provide it. The aliens watched as Victor slowly consumed the juice and protein bars brought by the nurse. Gradually, his color improved, though he still moved carefully when they finally left the center. Back at the dormitory, Victor went straight to his room to rest, leaving the 4 Zenovians in the common area, engaged in intense discussion in their native language. The next morning, Victor woke to find a strange device on his bedside table. It resembled a small metallic disc with a gentle blue glow. Attached was a note written in somewhat awkward English, Bioregenerator. Place on sternum for 20 minutes. Will accelerate red cell production and reduce fatigue, safe for humans. Your roommates Victor studied the device curiously. Zenovian technology was advanced, particularly in medical applications, but sharing it with humans was unusual. He placed the disc on his chest as instructed and felt a warm, tingling sensation spread through his body. 20 minutes later, he felt remarkably better. The lingering fatigue from the donation had vanished and he felt energized. When he entered the common area, all 4 aliens were waiting for him. How do you feel? Zerixel asked immediately. Great, actually, Victor replied honestly. What was that device? Standard medical technology on our homeworld, Prixner explained. It stimulates bone marrow activity and enhances nutrient absorption. We use it after significant fluid loss. Thanks, Victor said, genuinely touched by their concern. but isn't sharing your technology against exchange program rules. The aliens exchanged looks. We have received permission from our embassy, Lentrix said. After observing your donation procedures, we submitted a proposal for limited technology sharing in the field of hematological regeneration. That was fast, Victor remarked. Our government was impressed by human blood donation practices, Grelka explained. The voluntary nature, the frequency, the social organization around it, they believe it represents a cultural value worth supporting. Victor was surprised. It's just blood donation. We've been doing it for over a century. That is precisely what makes it remarkable, Zerixel said. Many species develop technology to create synthetic blood substitutes. Few develop social systems to share their own bodily resources so extensively. Victor hadn't considered it from that perspective before. I guess when you put it that way, it is pretty unique. We have been authorized to offer additional assistance, Prixner continued. Our medical technology could help improve your blood processing and storage capabilities. Extended shelf life, faster regeneration treatments for donors, more efficient component separation. That's incredibly generous, Victor said, stunned. But why? What does your government get out of this? The aliens were quiet for a moment before Lentrix answered. In our culture, the voluntary sharing of resources necessary for life is considered the highest form of social development, she explained. We had not observed this trait in humans until we witnessed the blood donation system. It has changed our assessment of your species. Victor felt a strange mixture of pride and humility. Well, I'm glad my bleeding for science has improved interspecies relations. 1 week later, the dormitory common room was crowded with both human and alien students. A formal ceremony was underway, with representatives from both Earth's International Space Academy and the Zenovian Embassy present. This agreement represents a significant step forward in medical cooperation between our species, announced Dr. Eliza Chen, the Academy's director. The Zenovian regeneration technology will revolutionize our blood donation programs, allowing more frequent donations without health risks to our donors. Victor stood with his roommates, watching as officials signed digital documents. I still can't believe this all started because you guys thought humans were afraid of blood, Victor whispered to Zerixel. Cultural misunderstandings often lead to the most significant discoveries, Zerixel replied philosophically. We observed humans taking extreme precautions around blood and made an incorrect assumption. But you were willing to revise your understanding based on new evidence, Victor pointed out. That's good science. And you were willing to explain your practices without judgment of our misconceptions, Lentrix added. That is good diplomacy. As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Chen approached their group. Mr. Quinn, I understand you're somewhat responsible for this breakthrough in relations. Victor flushed slightly. I just donated blood, Dr. Chen. My roommates did the real work, observing and analyzing. Nevertheless, your actions served as the catalyst, she said. The Zenovian ambassador has requested that you join the first implementation team. They're establishing a joint research facility to adapt their regeneration technology for human use. Victor looked at his alien roommates in surprise. You didn't mention this. We wanted it to be official first, Grelka explained. The position would begin after your graduation next month. We recommended you because of your unique perspective, Prixner added. You understand both the technical aspects of blood donation and its cultural significance to humans. Victor was speechless for a moment. His post-graduation plans had been uncertain, but this opportunity was extraordinary. I'd be honored, he finally said. Thank you. Later that evening, as they walked back from the ceremony, Zerixel raised a question that had clearly been bothering him. There is one aspect of human blood donation we still do not understand, he said. Most donors never meet the recipients of their blood. They give without knowing who benefits. How is this motivation sustained? Victor considered this thoughtfully. I think it's about possibility rather than certainty. When I donate, I know my blood might help someone, a child, an elderly person, someone in an accident. I don't need to know exactly who they are to want to help them. A generalized altruism, Lentrix observed. Fascinating. It's not unique to blood donation, Victor continued. Humans do this in lots of ways: organ donation, charitable giving, volunteer work. We help strangers because we can imagine ourselves or our loved ones in their position. In our culture, resource sharing is highly structured and reciprocal, Prixner explained. The concept of giving without direct return is not unknown but uncommon. Maybe that's why your government was so interested, Victor suggested. They saw something different in how we approach this. Indeed, Zirixel agreed. It has prompted much discussion among our scientists and philosophers. As they reached their dormitory, Victor noticed new posters being displayed on the community board. Another blood drive was scheduled for the following week. What caught his attention, however, was a smaller notice beside it. Zenovian fluid exchange ceremony, cultural exhibition, and educational event, all species welcome. What's this? Victor asked, pointing to the poster. The aliens looked slightly embarrassed, their skin taking on a purplish tinge. We have organized a demonstration of our own cultural practices around bodily fluid sharing, Grelka explained. It seemed appropriate, given recent events. The ceremony involves the voluntary donation of cellular growth medium, Prixner added. It is used in our medical treatments and has some parallels to your blood donation, though the physiological process is quite different. Victor was touched by their initiative. This is great. It will help humans understand your culture better too. Will you attend? Lentrix asked. We would value your perspective. Of course, Victor promised. I wouldn't miss it. As they continued to their rooms, Victor reflected on how a simple misunderstanding about human biology had led to such significant outcomes: new technology, cultural exchange, and deepened relationships between species. All because some alien students had been horrified to see him covered in fake blood, then amazed to see him willingly donate the real thing. The next morning, Victor received a message from the medical center. His platelets from the apheresis donation had been used to treat a young engineer injured in the mining accident. She was recovering well and had sent anonymous thanks to whoever had donated the blood components that helped save her life. Victor smiled as he shared the message with his roommates. This is why we donate, he said simply. This feeling right here. The aliens studied his expression with their large, curious eyes, and Victor knew they were still trying to fully comprehend this aspect of humanity, but they were learning just as he was learning about them. And that, perhaps, was the most valuable exchange of all.